Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinabadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. There's one question here. Using the mind, meaning thinking process, how do we convince the mind that we are not the mind? That's the question. How do we convince the mind that we are not the mind? You have to convince yourself. You don't have to convince the mind. You have to convince yourself that you are not the mind. The fact that you are aware of the mind, you are aware of the thoughts, means that you are awarer, mind is the object of awareness, you are the subject, mind is the object. So it is a subject-object understanding or appreciation. Like our Swamiji's famous example of this man comes, Swamiji, I am restless. Swamiji says, you are not restless, you are all silence. Swamiji, I am restless. You are all silence. I am restless. You are all silence. Then Swami thought the limit has come now. So then Swamiji asks, why do you say you are restless? I know I am restless. How do you know you are restless? I know my mind is restless. So you are the knower of your mind, restless mind. So one who knows the restless mind is not the restless mind. Simple. This flower is the object of my knowledge. So I am different from the knower, is different from the known. The clock is object known to me. I am the knower, different from clock, there is the known. So knower is always different from the known. Mind is known to me, so I am different from that. It's not a matter of convincing, it's a matter of seeing. I don't have to convince anybody to see this fact. Reason why I take the mind to be myself is I identify it habitually. So creating a distance. Because if I am the mind, then mind will always be with me. If I am the mind always will be with me. But I am fast asleep, I am there, but mind is not there. If mind was myself, in the deep sleep state also the mind would have been there. It's not there. I am there, in the waking state, I am there and mind is there. Deep sleep state, I am there, mind is not there. It's called Anvaya Vyatireka. Anvaya means together, Vyatireka means separation. So when the mind is there, I am there. Mind is not there, I am still there. That means I am not the mind. So these are the ways of recognizing that I am not the mind. Not a matter of convincing, matter of recognizing, seeing.
Swamiji, I have often read, and you spoke of today, of being an unlimited being, recognizing that we are unlimited. But still it seems to me our jiva is still trapped inside this body, and this body is limited, and our mind is limited, so how can we be unlimited? Theoretically, yes, I can see myself as unlimited being, but to accomplish anything or do any activity, so forth, we are limited by the physical space and time. So how does that relate to being, how does seeing ourselves as an unlimited being help us in life, if that makes sense.
Well, there is a little pot here in my hand, imagine. The space says, I am trapped in this pot. We say, space, you are all pervasive. Space says, hey, I am trapped in this pot. How can I be all pervasive? Is the space trapped in the pot? Is the space within the pot? But if the space identifies with the pot, then thinks that I am confined to the pot. So also when we identify the body, we feel that we are trapped in the body. Even though space is not trapped, it can feel it is trapped when it identifies with the pot. So even though I am not trapped, but when I identify the body, I feel I am trapped. So if you are really trapped, there is no way you can be limitless. But the one who is not trapped feels he is trapped. So since being trapped is not the reality, it can go if you are... You see, I just give the example of deep sleep state. In deep sleep state, you don't have any limitation of time or place. If I was trapped in the body, I could never be free from the... So, I'm identified with the body, not trapped in the body. And so if body traps me, there is no way I can become free. But it's I who is identified with the body, and I have the freedom to de-identify. And recognize that body I am not, simple. That most of the time I call this as my body. That shows that I am not the body. I am the possessor of the body, different from the body. Then we forget again. When we are in the right mind, you can see that I am not the body. But then by habitual, again you identify by habit, become the body. At the same time, it is true that in your life you have to function through the body, but it is not that you can only do limited things. It is the body that can do limited things. You need not feel that you are doing limited things. Because when you are infinite, when the sense of doership also is not there, it's in your presence that the body functions. As long as you feel that you are doing, so long there is identification with the body. But you realize that you are not the body, then you realize that you are just a presence. It's body that is doing. So if there is limitation, limitation is the body. There's a limitation what the body does, that doesn't become your limitation. It's in your presence that it happens. You are the presence. You are the one that enlivens the body. And the body does things. Like electricity, need not feel it is trapped in the fan. In presence of electricity, the fan functions. So the speed is limited, is limitation of fan. Electricity need not feel that I am limited. So also if there are limitations in accomplishment, actions, etc., it's in the body. That doesn't make me limited.
Swamiji, as a follow-up question, this limitlessness, I think we need to understand. It's a very loaded term because there are two meanings, I believe, to limitedness. One is limitedness could mean I'm not bound by any limits. For example, I can run at 60 miles per hour or I can lift a mountain. I mean, that is one limitlessness. I mean, that some people could understand. And some others, I mean, the more discrete meaning is, I believe, Swamiji has explained is you're not limited by space, you're not limited by time, you're not limited by... I think there's a distinction between these two, if I'm not mistaken, that we need to clarity. Because that's a very loaded term. If when Swamiji says you're not limited, so people, I think generally I would think I can do anything, I have all powers, like God or like that. So I hope.
So when we are told that you are limitless, what's the meaning of you? If you respond to that statement and say that you still look upon yourself as ego and then understand that I'm told I'm limitless. The ego says I'm limitless. And so lifting a mountain, regardless of what is going to be limited anyway. Because mountain is lifted by the ego at the level of body. Regardless of what you do. If you lift mountains, so what? Still limited. You have the whole earth. Even if you lift that also, then the whole galaxy. So, in the sense of accomplishment at the level of upadhi, there cannot be limitlessness in that. Because all accomplishments are by the upadhi. It is, as I said, recognizing that in my presence the body does what it does. Doesn't matter what it does. Presence has no boundary. So, it is true that if one person does not understand what is meant, what is the meaning of what I am told that you are limitless, if I retain my notion of I as I am and then add limitlessness to, that will not work. So for limitlessness, my very perception of the I has to change, because I meaning that I don't think, I cannot be what I am. If I am to be limitless, I cannot be what I think I am right now. It has to be different. So that's how that lakshana vritti comes, that from the I, the contradictory or limited thing doesn't belong to I, belongs to non-I.
So it depends on where the question is coming from. Like you said, is it coming from me as an identification of my body and mind? Then I think her question is coming from her identifying her as, I may be mistaken, but so your teaching says the consciousness is limitlessness. When I take myself, when as a true nature.
Yeah, because even if you look at who you are, even though right now I feel that I am a limited being, if I look at the reality of I, see, reality is that which does not change. What changes is incidental. In case of the pot also, there is some part of the pot that does not change, other part of the pot that changes. So this name and form, subject to change, coming and going, incidental. The clay, so what is, when you say, hey, you are all pervasive, suppose you tell this pot. You are in all the pots and pans, suppose you tell this pot. The pot continues to believe that I am just a little pot and then tries to become in all pots and pans. So the pot has to understand what is meant by I. What is in me that is changeless. The name and form cannot be I, because they are here now and not later. And so I that is there all the time, all the place, and all conditions, that alone can be true nature of anything. See, for example, fire is called fire, is hot. It is hot at any time, any place, and all conditions. Is it not so? That's called nature. So who am I at all times, at all places, and all conditions? Can I say I'm father? Not all the time. Son? All the time. Mother? No, they're all roles, functional roles. Waker? Not all the time, not when I'm sleeping. So what is that I am all the time? That alone can be the truth about myself. That alone is the meaning of you are limitless. When the teacher says you, it is that I which is the abiding aspect of myself. I am, asti bhati priyam. And that is limitless.
Namaste Swamiji. I guess when we come to attain that self-knowledge and understand the limitlessness, swarupa of ourselves, this question doesn't even arise of how is lifting a mountain, how can we do this and all that kind of stuff. Because it is coming from a place of limited being. So
You're right.
the limitless will not have those kind of questions.
Yeah, but these questions have to be answered before you become limitless, so you discover that.
Yes.
So these questions have to be resolved in our mind. Because it is I who has to discover limitlessness about myself. If my notion of limitlessness is there, I should be able to lift a mountain, then that's what I think is my goal. So understanding limitlessness is important. Then only you can seek to achieve what real limitlessness is. If your idea of limitlessness itself is false, then we will try to achieve something which is not right. So, clarity of understanding is important. Even for the ego. Ego has all the problems. And ego must get the clarity so that its track or path becomes clear.
And also when we say that we get the self-knowledge, it is as though everything else is known to you. It's as though everything else becomes known to you when you attain that self-knowledge, right? It's not like we are going to know every little piece of information on this earth or in this universe. We will never be able to do that. But knowing about the limitlessness of oneself, everything else is as though known. It becomes a redundant thing at the time.
Well, when we say you know this part, then this part can be known in two ways, or the two aspects of this part. One is that the part is clay. Other is part has a form, it has a volume, it has some usefulness, it has some weight. So there is a essential aspect of part which is clay, and the incidental aspect of part, which is how big it is, how small it is, etc. So Vedanta will say that when you know this object as clay, then you've known it. Because other thing is incidental. If you know that and do not know clay, then you have not known anything. If you know clay, then even if you do not know that, you will recognize. If you know Brahman, then recognize there is content of every name and form. So you know. So then, once you recognize clay, any vessel that comes before you, you recognize it as clay. So you know everything in that sense. By knowing the essential of a given thing, you have known everything. So in that sense, a wise person knows everything as to what the essence is. And then you are happy. This craving to know that all collecting all information, the craving is there because that basic essence is not known. But once you know this, then that is all that matters here. That's a real substance here. Form is not a substance, it's changing. It has no reality. Only reality is clay. So when that is clear and you know that way, then your desire to know this object is satisfied. And then you know every other object because the essence is the same. One second.
This knowledge is not from the mind or the intellect. So is it awareness knows its own self, or it arises in you? And
Knowledge is in the mind.
It is through the mind.
Knowledge is in the mind. Because ignorance also is in the mind. Where the ignorance is, there the knowledge has to take place. Ignorance is in the mind. So knowledge also should take place in the mind. So we find two kinds of statements in the Upanishads. Na tatra chakshur gacchati, na vak gacchati, na manah. The eyes cannot objectify, nor the speech can describe, not the mind can visualize. If you are trying to know it as something different from you, but mind certainly can know it as its own self, where it is an inward-looking mind. So yes, the knowledge arises in the mind. That is where the ignorance is. So other day you were saying there is no reasoning. There is reasoning. Because right now wrong reasoning is going on in our mind. That is why right reasoning is required. See, mind has come to a variety of conclusions by its own kind of reasoning. I am the body. Some kind of reasoning it is applied. The world is real. Whatever views mind is having right now is based on its own reasoning. So we have to provide the right reasoning to the mind to make it see that conclusions are drawn because of wrong reasoning are wrong. To see our conclusion, wrong conclusion is wrong, requires also reasoning. That look, your basis of arriving at the conclusion that I was born, I'm going to die, then we have to make him see that look, your conclusion that you are born is because you identify with the body. It is body that is born, you say you are born. The body that will die, you say you are dying. So, the mind came to conclusion that I was born, the ego, with some reasoning. What is the reasoning? I am the body. That's the reasoning. So you have to provide the reasoning that no, that's not right. You cannot be the body. Because when the body is not there in deep sleep, you are very much there. And so, the conclusions about ourselves will arrive by wrong reasoning. And there were conclusions of the world also because of wrong reasoning. They all have to be resolved by right reasoning. That's why reasoning is required. To pave the way for the knowledge to take place. This wrong reasoning, wrong conclusions are what are depriving me of the true knowledge of myself. So with right reasoning, that obstacle has to go. Therefore, reasoning is an important thing, tool, in studying Vedanta. You follow?
This wrong reasoning we were born with. And the right reasoning we have to tell the mind.
Supply, yeah, right. Come back.
Swamiji, in Karma Yoga we saw that you get a relative freedom from self-judgment with respect to actions and the results. Can the ideas be extended to freedom in judgment of other people in relations and other situations?
Yes. As we become free with our own judgment, same thing happens with others also. Because my conclusion about others is based on my conclusion about myself. As my perception of myself changes, automatically my perception of others also will change simultaneously. Here.
Swamiji, knowledge is gained through Sabda Pramana. Can you talk about Sabda Pramana?
Sabda Pramana means the words of the teacher. Knowledge is gained by the Upadesha or instruction of the teacher. What is Pramana? Basically, that you are Brahman, that's a Pramana. And teacher explains what is you, what is Brahman, what it means you are Brahman. So as we say, right now we have our own conclusion that I am a Jiva. And so the teacher makes us see how that conclusion is wrong. And so as I drop my wrong conclusions, ignorance is dropped. And that's how the knowledge of the right thing happens. So Shabda Pramana means that, Pramana means a means of knowledge, valid means of knowledge. The words of the Upanishad or the words of the teacher are the valid means of knowledge for me to know myself. What is that word? Aham Brahmasmi, or you are Brahman. That's called Shabda. Here this is Mahavakya. You are Brahman. There is Pramanam that enables you to know yourself. If you understand what these words mean, what you means, what Brahman means, what you are Brahman means, the sentence made of 3 words, each word understood, and then the meaning, that is you. So, Shabda means Vakya or statement. Which statement? That which reveals the oneness or identity. So here Shabda is Mahavakya, which reveals the identity between you and Brahman. You are Brahman. What does it mean? So as the teacher explains, becomes clearer and clearer and clearer. And then when you see the meaning of what the sentence means, that's called knowledge. So that sentence has ultimately become the means to create in you the knowledge that you are Brahman. So it is not that just because only right away as we hear the words that knowledge takes place. Because a lot of obstacles are there. As I removed by listening again and again and again, now by reasoning wrong, reasoning goes, then the sentence becomes clear and reveals its meaning. So ultimately that statement reveals its meaning, that I am Brahman. So that statement becomes the pramana or means of creating that knowledge.
Swamiji,
I will come to you. You go ahead.
have an advantage with the mic. Swamiji, you understanding that my true nature is formless, timeless, spaceless, motionless. Like you said, Swamiji, in deep sleep, one can have the knowledge of that this person had a deep sleep, and if he thinks about the deep sleep, he can think that he was timeless, spaceless, formless, motionless during his deep sleep. So, but the challenge is in the waking state. So the pot example you had given, where you said the pot is nothing but clay and the pot is name and form, and any pot you take is a name and form of the clay. In the same token, the timeless, spaceless formlessness that we are in the deep sleep, in the waking state, any name and form we come across is like the pot, and the clay is my deep sleep. So, I mean, it personally for me, I've been through a lot of classes, so I kind of accept that. But if you had, is it the pot? So I can understand. That's why the pot is taken as an example, which is good because everybody understands that every pot you see is essentially clay. But applying that to any name and form you see in this world is nothing but Brahman. And in the case of pot, it is, we see it, and something real is taken as example and given as example, discussed as example. Whereas in the name and form, again, the name and form itself is not real, it is as though. But we actually go one step further in reality, where in Brahman we see name and form, but nothing is real, even the name and form, because everything is Brahman, which is again going back to the deep sleep, is formless, timeless. So
you don't have to go to deep sleep. It's
I mean, just
there.
as
Even when you're awake, it's very much there.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
just
not there in deep sleep and not there in the waking.
So which is
the reason why we go to deep sleep is what happens in deep sleep by default you have to make it happen in waking.
So that's a question. So I'm sorry
Yeah,
for the
what
long.
happens in a deep sleep by default is that you become free from identification, the gross body, subtle body, by default. And in the waking state, by effort, we have to do that. Becoming free from identification with the body, gross body, subtle body. By Druktasya Viveka, by subject-object analysis.
Swamiji, have this responsibility of teaching students, kids up to 8th grade in the Balvihar. So I'm just wondering, what is the important message that as teachers we should be giving kids of that age? Because in the Purna Vidya book it talks about Brahman and wise person and all. The kids get confused, I feel.
It talks of Brahman?
This is in the 7th grade when I'm teaching. It talks about, it gives almost the whole message there. So, but when I find it a little challenging for the kids to understand that. So, what should be the most important message that they should take when they leave? Apart from the values and attitudes, yes, but...
The message that is sought to be imparted is what is Ishvara. Here everything is Ishvara, everything is divine. That's the message, I think, that is, whether you use the word Brahman or Ishvara. And it's a challenge to make them see how everything is Ishvara. But if you can explain Ishvara in simple terms, that Ishvara is a kind, loving, beautiful being. Then we can make them see that every living being is kind, loving, beautiful. Even though cruelty is there, hatred is there, ugliness is there, the opposite are there. We can make the children see how their incident, they can be removed, rubbed off. Like the sandalwood may be stinking because of contact with water. When you rub that sandalwood, then fragrance comes out. So fragrance, even when the sandalwood is stinking, fragrance is this nature. You can make them see. So also a person is stinking. He's angry, he's cruel, all kinds of stink is there. But essentially, that stink is removable. If you give that person love, perhaps his hatred may go away. Or even that very cruel person also, how loving he is to his own child, for example. So there are glimpses out of that Ishvara in everybody's life. Our own life and life of others also. So that's how we can make them see that loving, kind, beautiful being is the reality of everybody. Even a tiger also. There also you can see the love towards its own cubs. So maybe otherwise ferocious animal, a cruel animal. We call it cruel, maybe. But there are also the glimpses of love in that one also. Nothing is ever devoid of that. So that's the glimpse of divinity. So that is there everywhere. And that is the essence. Other things are incidental. Because you can even love a lion, you can make a lion love you. There are people who are lion as a pet or tiger as pet. There are these forest officers, there are people who have that. And we can't go near them. But they have discovered that channel. And even a tiger feels accepted by this person, loved by this person. What I am saying is it's easy, possibly invoke that. So then with illustration you can give them a simple message. Brahman is maybe a very high message. But Brahman translated in life is a kind, beautiful, loving being. All living beings are like that, even though they may look opposite of that. In that sense you can say that the divinity is there everywhere.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Swamiji, are we saying that Ishvara has the attributes of loving kindness and compassion?
As manifest, yeah.
But I thought that the ultimate consciousness' absolute reality has no attributes.
But that same reality when manifests as universe, it's a manifest form of same reality. When that reality manifests, it's called Ishvara, Jagat, universe. This is a manifestation. Because take love, ultimately it will become formless, I tell you. Love, if you ask what love is, it's not an object. Doesn't have form, doesn't have any attribute. So in ultimate reality, love also means attributeless. But as we understand love in terms of feeling, that also is there. So that attribute love manifests as this love that you feel in your heart. So that is why the first step is to worship Ishvara with attributes.
But consciousness has no...
That's how you transcend the attributes, through that. So from hatred first come to love. From self-centeredness come to the selflessness. And then from that, so thus first know Ishvara as possessed of all divine virtues, and then know him as transcending the virtues also.
Swami, Satchit Ananda is Brahman? So
Yeah.
it is Ananda then. It is an attribute.
Not attribute, nature.
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 Is Ananda.
Sat also is nature, Chit also is nature, Ananda also is nature. Meaning Sat is the same as Chit, Chit is same as Ananda, and same as Brahman. We use three words, but the three don't have three meanings. Attribute you can call that this is a white, large, fragrant flower. Suppose for this description, white, large, fragrant flower. So white is an attribute, large is an attribute, fragrant also is an attribute. It's called attribute because flower can be white or otherwise also. White can be here and elsewhere also. Fragrance can be here or different elsewhere also. But Sat is not an attribute. It's not that Something, this is Sat. So sometimes the flower can be white, sometimes it may not be white. Then white can be called attribute. You follow? So Brahman can be sometimes Sat and not Sat sometimes, then you can call Sat as attribute. Sat means existence. If it's not existence, then it's not there. Chit means that it's self-revealing. If it doesn't reveal, then it's not there. So therefore, in ultimate analysis, what is Chat, Sat, will turn out to be Chit, will turn out to be Ananda. So I'm just trying to show you the difference between the nature and attribute. Sat is the nature of Brahman, not attribute of Brahman. What is called attribute? Attribute is something that which is there in a given situation, may not be there in another situation. But it cannot be that Brahman is not Sat, always Sat. So Sat is the nature of Brahman.
So can Ananda and love be like interrelated?
Yeah, can be. Because we love Ananda. We don't love Dukkham. We love always Ananda. So Ananda and love go together. Mm-hmm.
She feels she's not good enough.
Say that again.
One of my friends is very insecure. She's not confident. She's all the time, unhappy. So what kind of solution do I give to her to know, to let her know that she shouldn't be insecure, that she's loved for what she is and she should be confident and things like that. I don't know how to help her.
If it is possible that you can find for her, your friend, something that can do in terms of helping somebody. If you can help she can help somebody, heal somebody, she'll feel good. When you do that, you feel good about yourself. So that is karma yoga. Because when you are helping somebody, it automatically becomes an action as a contributor, as an offering. So it taps your happiness. That's the way to do. In short, with all of us really, there should be always a program of in some way helping, healing, contributing. Because everybody requires it in some measure or the other. Somebody may be very more insecure, but everybody is insecure in some way or the other. So everybody can benefit by this. So Mahatma Gandhi said that 2 helping hands are better than 2 praying lips. He firmly believed in that, and he directed all his disciples, everybody, go and work. And there is a non-profit, what do you call, NGO, an organization in Ahmedabad. There are many in India, in Ahmedabad also. And these people reach out wherever some calamity is there. So something happened in Assam there some years ago. And several people were sent to Assam who laid there for 6 months or something. They had to stay there. Swamiji, when they came back from there, they were changed people. Just doing what they did during those 6 months. In seeing the people who are suffering, needing help, reaching out to help, brought about a transformation in them. That's what we call Antahkarana Shuddhi, purification. Pardon me? Can you explain more about purification? Well, purification is when you feel happy with yourself. More comfortable you are, you can say purer the mind is. Pure as the mind is, you are totally comfortable. You are Brahman. Meaning Ananda. And so by making somebody happy, you are able to tap into your own happiness, which is trapped inside. Happiness is trapped inside, into selfishness, etc. So you are, by being unselfish, you tap into that.
Swamiji, if they say it's meant to be, we've been taught that everything is meant to be, then free will, what's the purpose of the free will? Because if it was meant to be, then in what way are we able to exercise our free will?
This is usually said about things that have happened. If something has already happened, it is something we cannot change. So then what should be our attitude towards what we cannot change? That's called graceful acceptance. It's meant to be. That's what Ishvara meant it to be. Since it was meant to be, the only sensible approach is to gracefully accept. No point in resisting, rejecting, reacting. It's already done, already there. Because even for what has happened, we sometimes resist, reject, disapprove, fight, although we can't change. So it is meant to be. This is meant to be only for what has happened. Free will then comes in present free will. For past, meant to be. Present, free will. What is to be done?
It's not something that has been pre-written.
What does it matter? It has happened. It was written, not written, it has happened.
No, for the future. Like something that has already
No,
been
present,
written. So
free
how
will.
am I- yeah, okay.
Future we don't know. Present is all we have with us. And there is free will in the present. This will become future.
Okay.
But we only know past and present. Past has happened that we experience. Present is with us. Future, we do not know.
Swamiji, could you talk a little bit about the dreamlike analogy of Brahman and dream state? Is there using dream state as an analogy to explain Brahman? And how much we need to apply and how much of it? Some Swamiji says it is the same in a way.
It is?
It is almost the same. The Brahman is like the dream state where everything is as though and nothing is real. I had a dream yesterday. I was driving near in a scenic area, there were buildings, and there were people, and there was rain, and there was storm, whatnot. But when I wake up, I know everything appeared real, but nothing was real. And it was formless, timeless, spaceless, motionless, attributeless, the whole dream. I mean, in the waking state, when I look back at the dream I had last night, it is formless, timeless, spaceless.
How is it formless?
I mean, there's no form, and my dream did not. I mean, in the dream, there was content in the dream, but the dream itself was formless.
How do you say that?
I mean, I know it didn't exist. It was my own creation in my mind.
Yeah, but it had that form.
I mean, it had a as though content for like mithya. Everything was mithya, but there was really.
Mithya is not formless. Mithya alone has form.
I mean,
and dream is not illustration of Brahman. The dream is illustration for understanding what is mithya. Dream is illustration to understand what is mithya. That even when we are dreaming, it appears like a real experience, and only when we wake up we realize that it was all a projection. Don't say it did not exist, it was a projection. So similarly also, the waking state also appears very real to us while we are experiencing, but by the analogy of dream, that we can extend that analogy and see that the waking also, even though it is real, it is a projection. Dream was a projection of individual mind, and waking is a projection of total mind. Projection nevertheless. There is no illustration of Brahman.
But the dream itself, I mean, I was dreaming as the body, for example, just to keep it simple, the body was dreaming.
No, body is not dreaming.
Or something was dreaming.
Mind is dreaming.
Mind was dreaming. Yeah. And I had this whole happening experience as though in real life, in the dream. But once I woke up, I mean, I was that. The dream I had, it was me. Me, not the mind body, or me as
That's
the
ego.
self.
That's
Me
ego.
as the self. Or
No. Me as ego.
Okay, so that's the ego, that's not the self. I mean, so I'm kind of, I can easily apply that to right here, like me, this all is me. Whatever I'm seeing and I'm experiencing, I see no difference, literally. I had the same thing in my dream, and I'm the same thing now. So this is me, the whole content, the whole experience. So, I mean, I can make the analogy.
You can do what you want, but as I said, what is the purpose of the dream example is to recognize what is mithya. How even when it appears to you as real, it is mithya, so also universe is a mithya or projection. It is not illustration about you or Brahman. So you can exclude that, and what remains is you. So mithya is to be understood so that you stop giving reality to that.
So, and many times it doesn't. So when it does come true, what are we supposed to believe? That sometimes the way we are thinking or what we are doing actually does happen. So when it doesn't, then we are always waiting, okay, I dreamt this is going to happen. And you're always worried if it's not something nice. Like, do dreams have a meaning with real life, like in our lives? Do they play a part?
Dream come true doesn't mean that dream comes true. It is what you dreamt in the waking state, what you planned, what you wanted has come true. So you dream in the waking state, I want to be such and such, I want to do this and this, and then you work for it and it comes true. It doesn't happen automatically. Dream come true meaning what you are dreaming, which perhaps it may be far-fetched, but it has happened. So it's not that what you're dreaming, what you were hoping has happened. Those dreams rarely come true. Sometimes they do. like the coming events cast their shadows. So sometimes similarly what's going to happen in the future may cast its shadow in the dream. So some people do have experience. Swamiji, in my dream I saw such and such person was dying and then that happened. So sometimes this does happen that you may get some kind of an event which may be a powerful event and you might get a sense of it in the dream. But that is, not a common occurrence.
Namaskar, Swamiji. I have a question with regards to the situation that my daughter is facing right now. She's a student at Pittsburgh, and she recently moved into a new apartment with her friend, and she's been experiencing some paranormal activity. I'm not sure whether it's true or no, but she's fearing a lot. She's hearing sounds, someone walking the apartment, things are falling and all that. I don't know how to guide her.
Change it.
Change the apartment.
I
right?
think so. Simple.
Yeah, because she signed the lease for the 12 months. I don't know what's going to be the legality.
Yeah, whatever it is. If this is what is happening, whether it is her own mind that is creating or whether something is there, it's hard to say.
Right.
But for her it is real.
Okay.
She is experiencing this.
Yes.
And no amount of reasoning is going to undo it.
Okay.
So, you can ask her to do prayers, etc.
Yeah.
If she believes in that, ask her to
She
say
does.
Hanuman Chalisa or something,
Yeah, I just bought the Hanumana idol from the store. and-
Bhoot Pishacha Nikat Nahi Ave Mahavira Jabana. Ask her to chant that, see if it helps her.
Okay.
Do a lot of 7 times Hanuman Chalisa, tell her to do.
Sure. Okay. All right. Thank you. Sorry.
Swamiji, so recently my name is Ravi, I'm a student of Swami Viditatmananda, and recently I've been going to this Radha Madhav Dham in Texas, which is a bhakti type ashrama, and they say something very interesting. They say that mukti is there, moksha is there, but they say that it's nothing compared to the love that one can experience with Sri Krishna in separation, in that divine, intimate separation.
Why separation? Intimate union or separation?
They say separation is necessary to have a relationship and to enjoy that love.
Necessary to bring about the union, isn't it? You don't want to remain separate.
According to them, the separation is necessary. So I just wanted to know what the counter argument is for when they say that this divine love sensation is million, billion times better than anything that moksha can provide.
No, that is depends upon your understanding of what moksha is, They imagine moksha with something and then say this is 10 times, 100 times better, etc. They have their own imagination of what moksha is. But union with your beloved, if that is moksha, then what? The oneness is moksha. Not separation. Separation may become a means of ultimately gaining that union. But separation cannot be a desired end, can it be? That you want to remain separate from your beloved one, is that the desired end? Is that what is called moksha?
According to them, that's a better state.
That's what you
than
understand.
moksha. Yeah.
I think that you better understand it correctly. That cannot be. That is all right, but the thing is separation he is talking about. Separation cannot be the goal. You already are separate. Where is the question of goal?
Swamiji, I think what they mean is separation increases the intensity of the desire for the longing. That's what they say.
But what you want is
obviously the union.
Exactly.
So when the gopis were separated from Krishna, their intensity increased for him. So when the wives of Krishna was with them all the time, you don't long for something which is around you all the time. You long for something which is away from you. So that's what they mean. So the fact of separation is a necessity, is just to say...
How do you long for something that away from you? You can long for something that you experience. How can you long for something that you don't know?
No, you do know, but it is now away from you.
But Gopis came to know that when they were with the Lord, isn't it?
Right.
And then when they separated, now there is a longing.
So, for example, in the Rasalila night, the gopis suddenly become very prideful.
I know, I understand.
Right.
But you are saying that the consorts of Lord Krishna, who are always with him, they don't know what is the longing. But why do you have to? The longing came only when they experience the oneness. And now when you are separated, there is longing. If already you are one, like his consort, why do you have to separate?
See, at this point of time, their longing for Krishna was not born out of knowledge. So
No, you don't add conditions.
No, that's what the Bhagavatam says. This is not a condition that I am adding. This is what Bhagavatam
just
is saying.
says that when the ego comes, that is when separation comes. When ego was given up, then again there was union. There is union, then in the mind of yogi, Gopi says, oh, I am something. Looks like Krishna is really attracted to me because of myself, And so then Krishna disappeared. And then when the yogis realize, gopis rather realize, then when that ego is given up, then again there is, the union.
They realize that and they become almost demented and they go around the forest.
Whatever it is, my point is that longing can come provided there is experience of oneness, that is what you long. And when you are separated, you long for what you had. And so when that comes, already you are at one, then you say, now you don't have longing. Therefore you should separate to have the longing. That doesn't make sense to me.
The whole argument is moot. Once you have the experience
you understand those things properly.
Okay.
You study Bhagavatam properly, both of you. I think you need to understand it, before...
Swamiji, what is this separation, Swamiji? Is it I am separate from God? I mean, what separation are we talking? Not being separated from God. This is I am separate. God is different, I am different. That's separate is what he's saying.
Right.
So they're talking Dvaita.
Right.
So, I mean, it's not I'm separated from you, but it's not that what he's saying. So, is Dvaita...
Anyway, so I don't think that... First of all, please properly understand what that teaching is, then we can share something, All right? Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamada Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om